Alright, sort of out of the blue, but here's a track guide for the 1987 Cup cars at Road Atlanta, which is where we're at this week. Pretty fun track, but it's also pretty challenging, which is why I'm doing this video. Kind of midweek, but still. Nothing fancy, we're just going to get to it, talk about it, and pretty much go from there. So, yeah. Alright, so fixed setup, default weather with dynamic weather movements, I guess. Only change I made to the fix set was the brake bias, and I moved it from 55 to 48.4 because it helps me, I guess, brake better and use the brakes to rotate the car a little bit. That's something you'll have to play with. I can't give a guideline on that. Let's just say more front brake bias is more stable, more rear is less stable, but it brakes better, and so on. Steering ratio is the default, 14:1. It's as low as it goes, so you're going to be doing a lot of steering regardless. So, yeah. For the fixed setup itself, it's really bouncy on curbs, so that's something to keep in mind. You kind of don't want to attack them, but there's some curbs you actually do need to use, so we'll go through that throughout the lap. I'm kind of going to be doing this live, so I'm not going to, play the lap and then go through it step by step because that'll just take way too long. So I'm just going to go through the gears, I'll slow-mo when brake zones come up and talk about it. So this final corner, we're going to be starting in third gear. We're going to make our way to the start-finish line, shifting to fourth, and up here between these two markers, the 200 marker and 100 marker, I'm going to be hard on the brakes around the 120, I guess. So like right here, hard on the brakes. We're going to downshift to third gear eventually. Should be coming up. There it is. Now here you want to use most of the racetrack without actually touching that curb. And you can opt to use the width of the track on exit, but I try to keep it to the right to be set up for the next corner, which I'm kind of aiming for those trees that you see right there. This one actually, or maybe it's a little off to the right, but that's what I'm looking at most of the time. I'm going to start braking pretty much when this windshield brace here on the right is around this light pole, or whatever this pole is, and that tree there. So I'm going to be on the brakes somewhat hard at first, but you can see I'm off them here. That's because the rear end gets a little light and the left front starts to lock up as well. That's why I kind of modulated a little bit. We're going to downshift to second gear. Get ready for this right-hander that's really hard to see sometimes. And I said something about curbs. This is the one where you want to use most of the curb, like this white section here. Because if you clip this with a right front, it might start a bouncing effect. That'll just hurt the entire S's. But if you go over here, it counts as a 1X, so you want to be right in the middle of that. It actually gives you a more straight approach, and that's just the way to do it. We're at second gear, by the way. I'm going to shift to third on this left-hander at the start of the S's. We're going to use all the track, get it pointed, and you can see most of these corners I'm turning in earlier, and the car's taking a little bit longer to respond. That's why I'm turning in earlier. That's just the nature of a big, heavy car like this. And you can see, once I got straightened up, I'm on the brakes. You want to use some of this curb, some of the other curbs throughout the S's are inevitable, so you kind of have to just deal with it. And when I shifted up to third, I left it there all throughout this section, even through this left-hander. So on the brakes again to the middle. Get back to the throttle hard. Use pretty much this amount of racetrack. Any more, it'll start bouncing. Might send you into a wall. I don't know. Still in third gear. You can leave it in third gear in the limiter or shift to fourth on this hill, like I did there, even though we're just going to be braking again. You see there's a 200 marker, and there's this opening. That's what we're aiming for, the opening here. So once I get in that range where you can see where the dip's happening on the track, that's when I'm hard on the brakes. Downshift to third. Gonna downshift to second. We're going to leave it in a second, use all the curb here. You can full throttle for a split second. You'll be on the brakes again, using all the curb, which actually started the car bouncing. I somehow got lucky. You kind of want to avoid those curbs, but the exit curb's fine. You can use the exit curb here. Second gear. To third gear for a hilarious amount of time. And a fourth gear, so we're going to ride that out. So this right-hander right here, you can take full throttle, but you got to be real gentle on the steering. Or you can lift just a tiny bit like I did here, and it kind of straightens the car out. You can see that. So there's a 300 marker, there's a 200 marker, and a 100 marker. So I'm pretty much braking at the 250 pretty hard. You want to wait a little bit going from 4th to 3rd gear because they're so far apart. We're going to downshift all the way to 2nd. So we're 3rd, 2nd, hard on the brake zone. Here you want to use pretty much this exact amount of curb. Any more over here and any more to the left and it'll count as an off track. Any more to the right and it does some weird things. And you see I'm turning in early still. And here you kind of want to swing the car back to the right really hard because all the weight's on the right of the car now because of the left-hand corner. Well, you need to set it up where the weight comes back to the left. So that's why you see me just jerk the wheel really hard that way. 2nd gear. I'm going to shift to 3rd right at the crest. And you can leave it in 3rd or shift to 4th like I did. It all depends on how long you want your tires to last. And there you go. Alright, not the best track guide, but it's something. Obviously, it was kind of rushed because of how long it takes to describe a road course, but you get the point. Maybe you'll see more videos shortly. Maybe not, but hopefully if everything goes to plan. Anyways, SimRacingChewyside.